by looking at the Torah portion. The Torah portion for this week, which is Ki Tavo. Ki Tavo. Deuteronomy 26:1 all the way up through 29, verse 8. We are going to do a brief look at a portion of Ki Tavo. I want to look at just the first 14 verses here of Deuteronomy chapter 28. 28 verses 1 through 14. Go ahead and get that up there on the screen for us. And if you could read there 1 through 14.
All right, Deuteronomy 28. It says, "And it shall be, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh Elohim to guard and do all his commandments, which I command you today, that Yahweh Elohim shall set you high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, if you obey the voice of Yahweh Elohim. Blessed are you in the city, and blessed are you in the field. Blessed is the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your livestock, the increase of your cattle, and the offspring of your flocks. Blessed is your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed are you when you come in, and blessed are you when you go out. Yahweh causes your enemies who rise against you to be smitten before your face. They come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Yahweh commands the blessing of you in your storehouses and in all to which you set your hand, and shall bless you in the land which Yahweh Elohim is giving you. Yahweh does establish you as a set-apart people to himself, as he has sworn to you, if you guard the commands of Yahweh Elohim and walk in his ways. And all peoples of the earth shall see that the name of Yahweh is called upon you, and that they shall be afraid of you. And Yahweh shall make you to have plenty of what is good, in the fruit of body, in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground, in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers to give you. Yahweh opens to you his good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And Yahweh shall make you the head and not the tail, and you shall be only on top and not beneath, if you obey the commands of Yahweh Elohim, which I command you today to guard and do. And do not turn aside from any of the words which I am commanding you today, left or right, to go after other mighty ones to serve them."
All right. Very good. Very good. Okay, so when we look over here at this chapter here, we see the blessings. Of course, when we look at this is, first of all, when we think about things, especially from a prophetic perspective, you can look at things from various degrees. I think the first thing when you look at this is dealing with a national perspective in terms of the whole nation as a whole. Moses here, of course, is speaking. Deuteronomy as a whole is Moshe speaking to Israel, giving him Israel kind of his last words before he goes ahead and goes off and goes back into the land of the fathers before he goes and dies, right? And so he's really commissions Israel as a whole, kind of gives them a total kind of overview of everything, setting things in place and in order before he goes off. So when we get over to here, we look at the chapter 28, where it deals with these blessings. If this people as a nation will do these things, then these things will happen, right? And it's interesting when you look at these blessings, again, from a prophetic perspective, when we look at kind of how we might think this can be realized, this Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, this has to be put into the category of those things which deal with what the full manifestation of the new covenant brings. Because right now, no matter how much unity a certain number of people may have, or how diligently we walk in the Ruach HaKodesh, we, specifically us, are still in Pittsburgh. We're still over here. We're not in the land, right? And so we can look at this from a national perspective, where we're talking about the totality of Israel, reaping the benefits of the blessings. But also, we can think about this from an individual perspective. Because when we walk in the law, statutes, and commands, the law isn't some, it's not like some magic words that you say and do, and then once you say these magic words, you get these things, right? It's real practical things of how to actually live and be in this world, right? The Torah teaches us how to treat one another. For the most part, if I'm able to walk around and deal with people in peace and love, for the most part, that's what I'm going to get in return. You have freak accidents from our perspective, from the Most High's perspective. There's a plan for everybody. Everybody has a number at the end of their life. You may not know what that is, but the Most High knows what it is. And when you get to that day, it's over. But from our perspective, things, people, say a freak accident. Somebody was walking down the street and all of a sudden a car jumps the curb, and you know what I mean? For us, it's like this freak accident that happened, this terrible thing. But for the Most High, it's different. But in our world, in our existence, there's a thing that's, reaping and sowing. If I do this, I'm going to get that in return. It's basic nature of how things are. And so when we do things from a perspective of the Torah, which is right rulings, naturally these are the things that are going to come back, right? However, there is a slight caveat, right? There's a slight caveat, because go over to scroll down to verse 20. Scroll down to verse 20. Go ahead and read verse 20 there.
Verse 20, Yahweh says, on you the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke, and all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed, until you perish quickly because of the evil of your doing by which you have forsaken me.
Okay, so when we go back to the national perspective, we as individuals might have our blessings that we may receive as a result of our sowing and whatnot. But as a nation, there's this issue that we have where these things are on us, right? Namely, what I first said. No matter how much we walk in righteousness, we're not with our King in our land, right? And that's an issue, right?
Yep.
No matter how much we walk in the Ruach HaKodesh as individuals, as communities, as a nation, we're waiting for a thing that hasn't yet come. And so when you think about these blessings, thinking about the blessings, sometimes people look at your situation and your life and things that happen and say, oh man, I can't, it always seems like this. I'm trying to do the right thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm living for the Most High, and every time I turn around, I got all these things happening. It said over here, if I diligently hearkened unto the voice of the Most High and observed to do all of His commands, then I'm going to receive this, that, and the other thing. Where is that for me? But we have to be able to remember that, even though we have this over here, we have to always think about the big picture of it, right? As much as we can take, a part of this chapter and think about it personally for ourselves, we always have to remember the context really of this is the whole nation. Right? And so it helps us when we think about things from a perspective of understanding the context of the scripture. Right? And because, your everyday is, you plant things and it don't grow, you try to do, make plans and problems are always happening. You don't necessarily look over here and say, I must be in sin because nothing is working out for me. It said if I did what He said, I'll be blessed. But we have to remember that, we are a chosen nation, a people, and until our King return, we won't see the full manifestation of this, this if-then statement that we have over here in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, because of the consequences that happen after 14.
We gotta be restored.
We gotta be totally restored. So it's like we're on the road as a nation. We're on the road to recovery, but we ain't there yet by any means. Okay, so talk about this chapter a whole lot more in the extended video corresponding to Deuteronomy 28. You could go ahead and look in the description and find this chapter where I talk about the rest of this chapter at length, as well as the rest of this Torah portion. You want to look at any of those chapters, all the way back from 26 all the way up to 29. We have that over there, so go ahead.